Hello, everyone, and welcome to Genius Wednesdays. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, and I'm joined here by Team Genius. This is Christina Bruhan with Coin Genius. And as per usual, we have Mr. Stephen Kwan, the professor, the one, the only, the Kwan. Mr. Steve, would you like to kick off the presentation? It's been a very interesting week.
Sure. For those that have been listening to these for the past few months, I've been saying that all things not named BTC had been beaten down so much, and if they continue to, then all this is a waste of time and there will be no industry. It's just simply more like you have gold and that's it. You have gold and you have gold miners. Like, there really aren't silver miners. Those are a byproduct of copper. But the whole point is that I'll talk about some of the things I've covered for many months. Where one, the driver in Bitcoin price, it's actually fairly obvious when you see the charts and you follow the news. The second is the continued, appreciation of the large cap alternative non-Bitcoin currencies. And we'll touch on the saying good as gold, and we'll talk about how the market cap and the Bitcoin dominance or Bitcoin market share at extremely high levels is a one commodity show where it's not an industry, and all this will end up being nothing. So anyways, the first chart is, I can't see it all that well, so I'm just going to kind of talk, is Bitcoin dominance. And you can see back in the beginning it was 90 some percent, obviously because it was the first, and over time it would need to lose market share if others are going to enter. So you see that it basically did not that much from 2013 to 2017. What happened in 2017? Well, people found out about this thing called Ethereum and started to use cryptocurrency or blockchain as the third method of raising capital. The first being debt, the second being equity, and now the third was cryptocurrency or blockchain. The only problem was, if I tell everyone to pay me in Ethereum and you guys all have to go to an exchange to buy it, the price is going to increase. Well, not all of my workers accept Ethereum. Some need dollars, some need rubles, some need yuan. So what happened? Well, as I sold it to pay for my workers, the price went down. So it really wasn't a scam. It wasn't a bubble. It was simply something that was tried in its infancy, and it's basically that's the use case. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Cryptocurrency's use case. Any project manager says we're looking for our use case, move on. If they haven't figured that out, the blockchain for most of these is a way of raising money initially. So moving on, you can see that the Bitcoin dominance dropped significantly, and in 17 to 18, and now the next slide, Christina, you'll see that market cap rose significantly. Now, Bitcoin was the first. It will always be the first. It's, it has the name recognition. It was the largest. It has the most hash power. Always will, always has been, always will be. So it's what all these are basically branches of. But like I was saying, for something to grow, people, you need your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to start, doing things a la, a normal family. So you see that as the Bitcoin dominance dropped significantly, the market cap rallied significantly. Maybe some was a little fluffy, maybe not. I don't know. I don't study every single project. But I guess it was fairly obvious that as people moved out of Bitcoin into other things, the market grew and gave other projects a shot. Christina, next slide. Now, let me just see what's... Okay, so you can see, this is just zoomed in on 2016 to 18, where you can see 90 to 30, probably a little too much, too fast. But like I said, it was the first real shot at other projects not named BTC getting, kind of a seat at the table. Some lasted, some didn't. All right, moving on. Now, this is the past 2.5 years. And as you can see, on the highs, that was the Bitcoin dominance low. And as everything fell, since Bitcoin still accounts for most of the US dollar pricing, then the whole market fell. And as we see, Bitcoin dominance rising, huge correlation with total market cap up or down, because it essentially takes care of the US dollar price. Next slide, Christina. Now, I guess this one was interesting to see over the past year. What did everything not named Bitcoin do? Well, a year ago, it was only worth $50 billion. And right now, it's not even 100. So I look at, it's tacked on 50 billion, but the total market is tacked on significantly more, hence why I'm hoping that people start reallocating some of their profits or new money flows into other things. And just keep in mind the saying, good as gold. Like Bitcoin is the digital gold. I think most would agree. I agree with that, but just keep that saying in mind. Next, Christina. Okay, this is just a different time sequence. Now we see continued rise. And when did Bitcoin dominance hit its high? Past few months. When did the markets and alt hit their low? Past few months. Next. Okay, on to something. So here, this is kind of what I do every week. Just show some of the major commodities. That's gold. Nothing too exciting. It's down slightly. Next. S&P has since recovered from its nasty China scare. As usual, if the economy is good, people want to buy stocks. If the economy is bad, people want to buy stocks until they don't. Next. Now here's something. Here's the driver. This is what worked for me last year in buying alts and buying Bitcoin. This is just the past month, and a few weeks ago I said the LIBOR, i.e. euro dollars, was at an inflection point, and if they started to go down, you really don't want to be long gold. You don't want to be long Bitcoin. You don't really want to be long a lot of stuff, because interest rates kind of trump most things, whether it's margin debt in a cryptocurrency account or a margin debt at an equity house or a mortgage rate. We're all affected by interest rates in some way, shape, or form. So interest rates drop slightly off of that kind of inflection point. And keep in mind, look at this chart. Next chart. Now, this is over the past year, and note how much higher interest rates, or i.e. lower euro dollars, were a year ago. Started to rally, peaked out in the summer, kind of flattened out, and are undecisive, but definitely not going down sharply. Now, here's kind of, for those that haven't seen it before, here's your correlation. You people always ask, well, what is the driver? What do you do? Christina, next one. So that's Bitcoin over the past, month. Rises slightly. You can see now, Christina, can you go back to the euro dollar 1 month? Not exactly a mirror image, but you're kind of getting the point. Now, if you go to the next slide after the 1 month euro dollar, you'll see the 1 year euro dollar. And then if you can toggle back to the 1 year Bitcoin, it'll become apparently obvious. That would be, that's it. So take a look at that. 1 year euro dollar. Now go back to 1 year Bitcoin. Yeah, I can't. I can only tell you it's what worked for me. So I would continue to monitor that. If you start to see euro dollars go down sharply, I would consider, be a little wary on ownership of many different assets, Bitcoin, gold, just to name a few. Now, since Bitcoin does trump the US dollar, controls the US dollar price just because it's the most liquid, and an item that doesn't trade a lot. If it doesn't trade, it's just the Satoshi price times the Bitcoin cash price. Speaking of that, the next slides are going to be 3 large caps which need to continue appreciating versus Bitcoin in Bitcoin terms or in sats, Satoshis, to show that people are willing to go into, take the first step and kind of diversify into the what I call mega caps, your top 5, top 10, top 4. So here's Bitcoin Cash over a week. Shot up even more today. So trend continues, bottomed a month and 2 months ago. And people are like, well, it's not doing anything. I say when something goes down sharply before it goes up, it has to stop going down. So there's Bitcoin Cash over a week. New high for the week, new high for the month, new high for 3 months next. Now, that's a 1 year chart, just to give some perspective. So at 6 million Satoshi, that was the 1 year high. It's now 4.4 million Satoshi, i.e. 0.044. So it still has quite a bit of ground to gain to really have that breakout where people who might not be as familiar with cryptocurrency start to get involved. But you can see the bottom forming. We've talked about it for months, and it took a while to develop. For 3 months, buying at the low, you didn't really take any loss, but you didn't get any gain. So that's something I look at, and this is one of the holdings that we've had, and the next will be Litecoin. I know it seems weird, but yes, Litecoin is up in Bitcoin Satoshi terms too, ever so slightly. Definitely one of the laggards, where it was the leader last in Q1 of 2019, but it is up this week, and it's up a little more today. So trend continuing, slow trickle out money flows from Bitcoin to basically your 3, 4, and 5. Next will
Now,
be the one. Oh,
now, Steve, just to interject really quick. So Litecoin is one of those ones that you've been talking about for, I'd say, like the last month or so, right? This is something that you feel very strongly is a good investment opportunity for yourself. Obviously, this is not financial advice. However, obviously we see this playing out now, and in Satoshi terms, to your point, it's going up versus Bitcoin. So can you help people to understand, what you were looking at and some of the fundamentals that led you to that feeling to where it was a good investment at that particular juncture?
it's just purely actually a technical thing. Plus, I actually have gone to a couple conventions and have gotten to meet a couple guys from the Litecoin squad, and I guess for me, even in cryptocurrency, I know it's decentralized and some people choose not to show their face. But I thought it was cool for a large project to, have guys on the road, have guys talking to people, have trying to get their name out there where one would think, well, gosh, Litecoin is the fourth biggest project in the blockchain world. How do they need to get their name out there? Well, I think most people don't even know what blockchain or Bitcoin is, believe it or not. So the fact that you see the number 4 ranked with guys on, going city to city, kind of spreading their word. I mean, I took a picture of my son, trying to change topic, a couple weeks ago at a Coinstar machine, where you put your change in, you pay 9%, you get a little cash receipt or a Visa gift card. Guess what else you can get paid in Coinstar? You can get paid in Bitcoin. Amazing how the largest one went after the smallest. You hear about Wall Street and hedge funds and a million Bitcoin. How about you really want adoption? You really want to get people involved? How about the fact that you can go to the Coinstar by my house, go with $10 a change, put it in, you get a little receipt with a private key, and then you own some Bitcoin. Don't need a lot of money to do it. Just get people involved, get them interested. Like, it doesn't have to be large sums. If they like it, maybe they start doing that more often with their change. Maybe they tell a friend. Amazing that Bitcoin, the largest, is involved in what I'd say is probably one of the smallest markets or smallest intervals that I've seen. Moving on, that's Litecoin 1 month. Basically, the chart just flattened out in all these, and taking a position in one is not really something I do. It's more of looking at 2, 3, 4 large cap things. It was Ether Classic, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, where they all had just gotten so overextended down. Just wait until the bottom develops. Don't need to be the first one to buy, but once it stops going down, that's signal 1. Then you buy, and it's like, okay, it's been a month. I'm not making, I'm not losing. That's good. And then once other people get in, it's like, okay, now they agree. I don't need to get out. Okay. Okay, moving on. That's Ethereum. That's going to be the next leader. I'm like good as gold thing. Just keep that in mind. That's Ethereum on a 1 week versus Bitcoin. Finally broke out above the 2 million Satoshi level, up a little more today. And the next chart is the 1 year, and you'll see it has quite a bit of ways to go. But again, you see the bottoming formation. Moving on, good as gold. I think this is the closing part. So this is JM Bullion. No, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but you can buy, I believe, $1 million in one shot with, or maybe 100,000 without kind of giving them your name, but you can buy a hard asset. Now, if you'll look to the right, I just would point out that you can pay by check or wire, you can pay by credit card or PayPal, and you can pay by BTC and ETH. Wait, so Bitcoin's as good as gold, which I agree. Always has been most liquidity. But recently they added ETH, so now if I wanted to move from something digital, like a digital store value, back to a, I guess, traditional store, which is kind of where my background is, I mean, I can do it with Ethereum. So that kind of solidified my view that I have length in Ethereum, and that's all I'll say. It's now as good as gold, and that's it. Christina, I need to step
Thank
away for
you.
a second, so I'm
Yep,
gonna
I'm
cut out.
actually
Okay.
perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to actually
Okay.
stop presenting and turn it over to the team. So thank you for the
Okay. All right.
analysis.
All right. Bye, Christina.
Appreciate it. So just before I turn it over to the roundtable, Steve and I were talking before the call, and he was reiterating that, he feels like he's beating a dead horse. And I reminded him that to a lot of people, this is still new. These are patterns that CoinGenius has been talking about for 6 months, but it's relatively new to the average person. And just to give a bit of a teaser for our February subscribers, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Ethereum and kind of that bouncing along the bottom and what we expect to see over the next few weeks. So with that, the market itself has been really interesting this week. I'd love to hear from the team. And Tim, if you don't mind, I'd love to pick on you first, and then we'll kick it to Samson and the rest of the folks. Tim Hasselsweet, are you with us? Apparently not. Okay, change of plans. All right, Dustin, are you ready to do your segment for Hash It Out?
Sure, why not?
Perfect, let's do that.
All right, so I was actually just listening to Steve talk about gold and everything like that, and so I felt like this was kind of cool and tied in with that. And so I don't know where I should post this, but I created a YouTube video a while back about a new coin called PegNet, and I think, Christina, you heard me and Carl talking about that. And
yeah, we'll get that out onto the website later this week, so just work with me offline on that one.
Yeah, no problem. The cool thing about it is that there's a couple cool things about it, but essentially the Factum developing team and part of the Ethereum team got together and created this coin called PegNet. And so you can mine it with nothing more than like a laptop. It's pretty low electric usage, so it's not going to run up your electric bill. But what's cool about that is it's pegged to over 30 different assets. And so it's pegged to 14 of the top major cryptocurrencies, 14 of the major fiat currencies, and then it's also got 2 commodities, that being gold and silver. And so what's cool about this is you can actually mine it to your wallet, and then inside of the wallet, instead of using like an exchange, you can actually inside the peg network, if say you feel like the price of gold's going to go up, you can lock in that stable coin at the current price of gold and then ride that wave up, and then all with inside the same wallet you can exit out, so you can trade within these different assets or synthetic assets with inside that wallet. And so I just thought that was pretty cool because some people maybe they don't want to hold the actual asset of gold, but maybe they want to trade that. And so this kind of gives them a unique way to be able to do that all within, a wallet where they don't need an exchange or anything to do that. So, and I think the transactions are right around a tenth of a penny. So, pretty cool stuff there. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, I did another series earlier, and I was actually doing some research about Bitcoin mining. And based on, all the research that I've done, I created a spreadsheet, and I'll post this up somewhere in one of the channels today. But I was doing some research about Bitcoin mining and how much money you could have potentially made had you mined Bitcoin with a specific piece of hardware over the last couple of years. And so, on a 12-cent electric rate is where I factored in a lot of these calculations. But these Bitcoin miners, the particular model that I was doing a case study on was relatively right around $2,100 USD at the time when you could buy it. And so on a 12-cent electric rate, the numbers came back to be, right around 3 Bitcoins, what you would have had left over had you only cashed out enough to cover your electric expenses. And so the video is actually pretty cool because there's a couple things that it revealed. And so if you guys are looking to get into mining, or if anybody is, the strategy, there's a couple different strategies as far as cryptocurrency mining. Some people would rather cash out all their crypto weekly and get it back in fiat. But based on the numbers that I'm looking at, you would have potentially made way more money had you only cashed out enough to, cover your electric expenses, and then just hung on to the rest. So it's pretty cool to see like a $2,100 investment initially to get that Bitcoin miner would have yielded you, currently you'd have been sitting on 3 whole Bitcoin. And so the other cool thing about it is if, people are looking at getting into some Bitcoin mining and stuff like that, the hardware, the name of the game with it is to get it when it first gets out in the market. So, Bitmain's got a brand new miner that's coming out. It's highly advised that you get it when it first gets released on the market, because you're going to want to recoup your return on investment on that as fast as you can. So, because with the Bitcoin mining scene and stuff like that, you can't really, it's not a computer that you can resell in the market. So once it becomes inefficient, it's pretty much a paperweight at that point. And so, I just thought it was pretty cool to kind of see the different investment and strategies. But, for those that are looking to get into mining, it's, in most cases, based on the research that I've done, it's better to mine and hold the coins and only cash out enough for your electricity and then sell at a later date when that coin runs up. So, but that's really all I got this week on the mining stuff. If you guys have any questions for me or anything like that, I can answer those, but that's really it.
Actually, that's a great segue, Dustin. So if our subscribers do have any questions for you, they can find you on the Coin Genius Discord channel, and Dustin will be moderating the mining section. So thank you, Dustin. Really appreciate that little update. Tim Hesselsweet, are you back with us? I saw some activity while Dustin was giving his update. Are you available to give your update as well? He is adamant to not give his update today. All right. Well, it was a very interesting week. Jeremy, I know that you were looking at a whole bunch of factors this week. We saw a lot of activity with some of the large caps that we look at, BCH, Ethereum, Litecoin. What were some of the activities that you found notable, Mr. Bourne? I'm all by myself. There's nobody here. I'm all by myself. Is anyone on the line still? Samson, you with me? Nick, anyone?
Hey, yes, Christina, this is Samson. I'm still here.
Thank you.
It's a busy day. Yeah, I don't know what do you want to talk about. I just have some
Let's just so before we talk about market analysis, I'd like to plug your article about XRP. And if you own XRP, you do not own Ripple. Go do your own research. But Samson put a great article out, and CoinGenius reshared that. So thank you for contributing to the CoinGenius ecosystem. So Samson, it's been a crazy week with like the actual change in momentum in the market regime. Can you talk a little bit about what you're hearing and kind of just from a sentiment standpoint and your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the faith in Bitcoin is moving in the positive direction. People just feel good about it. I think we've talked about, the people coming out of their New Year's resolution, getting back to the business of things, and that's why you see that people are just more interested in Bitcoin. Because the other interesting thing is that recently, and I feel like in the last couple of weeks, more and more products, more and more blockchain-based products are being announced that don't have any cryptocurrencies or tokens, associated with them. Most of them are coming from IBM, because they're really pushing forward with a variety of enterprise applications. And you see this across the industry when we say the blockchain space, where it's all the focus is on enterprise applications. It's like, hey, you guys had a really good time with this whole concept of decentralization. Now the big boys are coming in and they're pairing up blockchain and AI to solve enterprise application challenges. And so, really, again, I think IBM is leading at the moment with their Hyperledger and the solutions that are coming out of that. And so, I think that's that juxtaposition between the business world, who's using blockchain to solve problems for their clients and come up with efficiencies and innovation for their clients. And then you have everyone else who's like, hey, we had all these cryptos, all these tokens. What does this mean for us? And I think that the faithful are looking at Bitcoin as like all these other things really aren't playing out. Samson's talking much common sense about XRP and what you actually own there. I think Ripple's a good example of another enterprise blockchain solution where I can see where they just abandon XRP in its entirety. But I do want to say maybe on Monday or Sunday, Ripple took out our cashed in, our liquidated $500 million worth of XRP. I want to say, did I make this up? I feel like I read this.
No, we saw that too. Yeah. Steve gave me the heads up and I pushed it out in the Coin Genius channel. Yeah, that's a real thing. Like they cashed out 120, what is it, $120 million there is what it equated to, which
Yeah,
is
that's what
probably
it
how they're going
was.
to pay their legal fees. So just think about
Yeah.
that, XRP holders.
And so XRP cashed out $120 million worth of, I'm sorry, Ripple cashed out $120 million worth of their XRP uh, coins. And that's just to pay for their business because they're building their enterprise solutions. And so, again, this is where the business of blockchain is growing, whereas the cryptocurrencies and the tokens, folks are looking at Bitcoin as this is it. All these other things, they haven't established a marketplace for them yet, or they haven't had any traction. So it's interesting to see that continue to grow. The other big thing that's coming up is the SEC or Telegram is going in front of the SEC soon, and it's just again just to determine how Telegram Inc., Telegram the business raised money, and so will grams be considered securities? My bet is yes, grams will be considered securities. So Telegram will have to pay a fine for selling unregistered securities to unaccredited investors, even though they did what's called a Reg D for accredited investors. And again, this is just another example of a institutional business. A business is developing institutional products or enterprise products, and they just used tokens as a fundraising mechanism for their business. But those folks who got the tokens, like Steve Kwan said, just because you own $1 doesn't mean you own any of the US. Just because you own a gram doesn't mean you own any part of Telegram. Just because you own XRP doesn't mean you own any part of Ripple. The difference is when you own Bitcoin, you own Bitcoin. And that's a larger conversation about decentralization versus centralization. So I know it's a long way, a long explanation as to why people are looking at Bitcoin is because I think it comes back to that fundamental belief that people want to hold on to or be in control of their own value. So I think that's why we have the current spike in the market.
I love it. Thanks, Samson. That actually ties in really well with the, quote unquote, silver of digital currencies, which is Ethereum. We'll be doing that deep dive, but Ethereum, for those of you guys that don't know, Ethereum itself, when you buy Ether, like there's an entire network that runs on ERC20 and a couple other tokens. There's ecosystems there. So CoinGenius will also be kind of breaking out those layers so you can understand the fundamental uses of these coins and what you're buying when you buy them. That way you can help understand what their market behavior might look like. Speaking of market behavior, we have Tim Hesselsweet back with us. So Tim, I'm going to pass the mic over to you. Can you tell us what you saw this week? So glad we can edit out these pauses. He is with us. He's fighting his mute button. Tim, you're up.
Hey, sorry, I had to step away from my phone really quick. Was there a question for me? Or was that
No,
for
it was
Tim
actually
Hustle
for Tim. He was fighting his mute button, and he had to drop off and rejoin. He'll be back in just a moment.
Hello,
So
can you guys
Jeremy,
hear me?
yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Apparently not. It's a fun day for technology. All right, so I know that Tim is going to be joining. I'd like to wait for him. There we go. Hey, Tim, welcome back. All right, so we will edit out the pauses. Jump in when you are done fighting your mute button. Tim's having a tough day.
Tim? Are you available? Tim Hasselsuite? I don't think you're
He
muted.
is.
Oh, he's still
Yeah,
muted.
he and I,
Okay.
we were texting in Slack, and
There
there
he
he
is.
is.
Hello? Hello?
Hey, Tim.
All right. So,
All right, so we'll be able to edit out all of the pauses, so no worries. Do you want me to set it up for you again?
no, I'm ready.
Okay, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. So we at CoinGenius had highlighted the tight trading range in December and early January from 7,000 to 7,500, and said that when we broke out of that range, that we would be inclined to go with the direction. And the Bitcoin prices broke to the upside, and bulls have been in control since then. And we're seeing kind of fresh highs for the move actually as we speak here above 9,600. So solid moves. And yeah, we look forward to chronicling more of these things. I am one of those sort of higher frequency traders that can load up and empty my bags in the time that we have this conversation. So yeah, we'll be glad to help CoinGenius traders from an active standpoint.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Tim. Well, speaking of CoinGenius traders, I'd like to introduce Nick Kearney, who is a trader himself and also the head of UI UX at CoinGenius. And there's quite a bit that we will be putting out to the website here very soon, including most of the metrics that Steve looks at. So I won't give the full, CoinGenius avalanche, but there's a lot, and we'll be sharing that with you guys here as part of the content of what we're going to be tracking in both the newsletters and the websites, and here in Genius Wednesdays in the websites. But I'm very excited for some of the announcements that are coming right around the corner. Nick, do you have a quick minute to give everyone an update on the CoinGenius user experience?
I do. One moment, please. Yeah, so hey, this is Nick over from the product development team, and got some pretty cool stuff coming up the pipeline that we're getting ready to launch with from our platform and our media library, and a lot of new content that we're going to be pressing out. Maybe on this next call next week, I can give a demo, and we can give some screenshots and everything, so we can show some of the things we haven't lined up. But yeah, actually, that's my whole update. Sorry, I gotta jump off.
All right, thanks, Nick. No problem. I'll take over. All right, so some of the features that we were excited to announce is kind of the database side of CoinGenius. So beyond all of the trading analytics, there is kind of a hatching plan for like an IMDb of crypto. And Nick is putting all of that together, and we'll be able to reveal that really quickly. And we will feature the Coin Genius geniuses there first as the first profiles, and then build out the system from there. So pretty exciting stuff coming for the users of Coin Genius. Okay, well, we have a few minutes left here. And Jeremy Bourne, if you have a quick minute, I'd love to hear your thoughts for Genius Wednesday, and then we will wrap up for today.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So, for me, just taking a look at all aspects of the market as it relates to, Coin Genius analytics and all the things that we're tracking, from blockchain transactions to developer activity and on-chain stuff, as well as, actual order book data. So all of this is looking really healthy. I know Steve was mentioning, some red flags that are out there, obviously, right now from a macro perspective. I think it's safe to say that obviously blockchain and crypto are here to stay. I think there's a lot of money that's pouring in. I think, the interesting thing that I wanted to mention earlier, which is really relating to Litecoin. Litecoin's an interesting one in the sense that, a lot of people kind of just wrote it off given the fact that it seemed like the halving event for Litecoin, which was priced in. Didn't see much
We
movement,
lost you,
fluctuation.
Jeremy.
The price went down.
Sorry, Jeremy,
main
really
reason
quick.
why-
The halving event, we lost you after that. Can you repeat?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
I just said the halving event for Litecoin didn't really do anything, right? It seemed like it was priced in prior to the halving event, and then the price ended up going down. The interesting thing is that people just wrote that off completely because they said, okay, well, it's dead, right? It didn't even budge on the halving event. And that's because who moves the price of assets, right? Is it the sophisticated investors? Yeah, sure, of course, they can influence the price. They can manipulate it, push it up or down. Or is it really the retail investors that come in that use their emotion because they have FOMO, just like Tesla, right? We just saw Tesla go through the roof, right? Now it's like over 900, but as soon as it got to 900, 850, there was a ton of people shorting it, and that was the news, right? Follow the news, and that's what everybody ended up doing. But those are the less sophisticated investors. So in that same vein with Litecoin, like the less sophisticated investors, as we all know, they don't even know that anything above and beyond Bitcoin even exists. They talk about Bitcoin like it's the only cryptocurrency, right? That's why it was priced in, because the people that were invested are the only ones that know about Litecoin. And it was actually priced in, as opposed to Bitcoin. Everybody knows what Bitcoin is. And mark my words here, the second that Bitcoin gets above and beyond $12,000 roughly, you're going to see it everywhere in the news. It's going to create a tremendous amount of FOMO. People are going to finally, hopefully understand, or start to understand, as the CNBCs and the Fox News starts covering it, of what the halving event actually is, and that the supply gets reduced in half. And once people understand the scarcity aspect of it, it's going to create a tremendous amount of FOMO to where the retail investors are going to be the ones to push that price up. And that is what I guess our firm belief is now. Are the whales going to come in and be able to manipulate that price and drive the price down and crush people's hopes and dreams just to buy it a little bit lower before it rockets back up? Because of the inherent nature of Bitcoin is literally designed to increase in value forever. That's literally how it's designed. So I don't think anybody can necessarily stop that. I think they can affect that and impact that through interesting trading strategies, and Steve's pointed out a few of those. But at the end of the day, retail investors don't even know what a halving event is. They don't even know anything above and beyond Bitcoin, and they're only going to be reactionary as it relates to the news being presented to the greater audience in the world. So that's how I see this thing playing out. It's going to be really interesting to see. But I think, like I said, we're in a healthy market. My biggest question that I have for folks out there, which is the Steves of the world, and I know Steve's not on anymore, maybe we can table this for next Genius Wednesday, which is what really happens when there's a catastrophic macro-related event as it relates to something like China. This coronavirus continues to spread. There's a lot of things that are being underreported, and the spread is shutting down cities, right? Somebody asked the other day, how does that impact Bitcoin mining if Bitcoin mining is roughly 80% of the hash power in China? Well, I said, well, it doesn't really affect it much, maybe, because it's not like you have to turn the power off, and not like anybody has to literally stand there and watch the machines mine, right? So maybe not an immediate impact, but a long-term impact if this continues to spread and these cities get shut down for weeks and months at a time. So how is that going to impact an economy like China that's already overinflated, that has close ties and has interdependencies with the rest of the global economy, including the United States? And that's going to have a trickle down effect to everything else, right? So what happens then when we have this crash, right? Maybe, as some people are hypothecating, above and beyond what we've seen in 2008. I happen to be in that camp. Is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency going to be a hedge against the dollar and all the different fiat currencies going down tremendously? I'm not sure. I think ultimately it will, but maybe not at first. So I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts or opinions in terms of what could happen, but I think it's something we really need to start thinking about and starting to allocate and adjust some of our positions accordingly.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jeremy Bourne. Appreciate that feedback. So on that note, CoinGenius will be reporting on the changes of the global financial engine as they develop. We really don't have a horse in this race. So if you would like to join in the conversation, you can find us on the CoinGenius Discord. You can join for just the community for as little as $10 a month, or we will very soon have a package that includes research and a whole bunch of paper from CoinGenius, digital, of course, and a bunch of analytics with our trader membership. So go to coingenius.ai to learn more. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Genius Wednesdays. We will see you again next week.
Thanks, everyone.